Jacob Larson's behavior in the courtroom was one of the most dramatic things that had ever occurred in that space. Larson had been brought to court for violating a personal protection order, which had been filed by a woman he had stalked on Facebook for over a year. Despite the order, Larson continued to contact her, sending her 22 messages on Facebook.
Messages from October 9th after we got out of court, and then I have some from the 23rd.
After being warned to stay away from her, the hearing began with Judge John McBain asking Larson questions.
Why do you feel that she's instigating?
However, the hearing quickly turned chaotic when Larson did not agree with the judge's decision and accused him of being too close to the woman. The judge sentenced Larson to jail, but Larson refused to be handcuffed and struggled with the court security. Judge McBain, who was not going to tolerate such behavior in his courtroom, took off his robe and physically held Larson down until he could be handcuffed. This is a story about Alan McCarty Jr., who received a 20-year prison sentence for threatening to kill Circuit Judge Stasha Warren. According to McCarty, he believed that Judge Warren was responsible for his loss of custody of his children.
This is being done unconstitutionally. Y'all took my kids unrightfully. You want to allow my witnesses here?
In a fit of anger, McCarty made a call to the police, during which he made threats against Judge Warren.
Yeah, I want to report a crime that's about to happen.
What do you mean a crime that's about to happen?
Yeah, there's about to be a crime that's going to happen if my kids don't come back to me, you stupid bitch. Because your stupid judges don't want to bring people to courtrooms. I got a gun pointed at your building.
Sir, what is going on?
Who the you calling sir, you stupid bitch? Where's your Judge Warren at? You gonna bring that bitch out in handcuffs and I'm gonna execute that son of a bitch right in the street. I'm letting you know I'm gonna shoot this bitch.
The police traced the call and arrested McCarty, and he was later charged in court. However, McCarty continued his outburst in court, raining curses on Judge Matt Foxman, who was presiding over his case. In a shocking turn of events, McCarty refused to answer questions and even invited Judge Foxman to perform oral sex on him. When Judge Foxman declined and threatened to duct tape his mouth, McCarty continued his outburst in curses. Eventually, he was removed from the courtroom and placed in an adjacent room with one-way glass, but he continued to curse the judge, his attorney, and his wife. As a result, the judge added an extra 10 days to McCarty's sentence for his use of profanity and curses. Tanner Jacobson and Cody Howard were in court facing charges of driving on suspended licenses, and if found guilty, both men would be sentenced to 30 days in jail. While they were waiting in the court, the two men got the idea to escape. Despite being in handcuffs and facing the reality that it was a terrible idea, they attempted to run away. Judge R.W. Buzzard, who was presiding over the court, saw the men try to flee and chased after them. They managed to make it to the final floor, but Judge Buzzard was able to grab Howard just as he was about to run through an emergency exit. Jacobson was able to get away from the court, but he was later caught a few blocks away. The attempted escape earned both men a new charge of second-degree escape. Howard was sentenced to over 3 years in prison for his attempted escape and other charges, and Jacobson's sentence was increased from 30 days to 1 year and a day. The video of their escape attempt went viral, but the consequences were severe to 1 year and a day. The incident went viral and garnered a lot of attention. This is a story about Michael Madison, a serial killer who murdered 3 women. Madison had a difficult upbringing, with an abusive mother and her boyfriends also abusing him. In 2013, a body was discovered inside a garage that Madison owned. After further investigations, 2 more bodies were found, all belonging to women. Madison was charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder, and later, 14 counts. His trial began on April 4, 2016, and he was found guilty of murdering all 3 women. Cuyahoga Common Pleas Court Judge Nancy R. McDonald followed the jury's recommendation and sentenced Madison to death on June 2, 2016.
We therefore unanimously find that the sentence of death should be imposed upon the defendant Michael Madison.
During the trial, family members of the victims delivered victim impact statements. When Van Terry, the father of one of the victims, was speaking, Madison smirked at him. In response, Van Terry ran towards Madison and tried to attack him. The deputies quickly intervened and removed Van Terry from the courtroom, but no charges were filed against him. Madison is still in prison. The events surrounding Madison's crimes and trial were full of drama and tragedy. The subject of this story is Arthur Booth, a man who has had a troubled life. Booth was an exceptional honor student in middle school, particularly talented in science and math, and was admired by his peers. Unfortunately, things took a turn for the worse for him when he became involved in drugs, gambling, and petty crimes. Booth's addiction to crack cocaine and gambling led him down a path of committing minor crimes such as theft and burglary, and he has been in and out of jail since he was a teenager. As a result, Booth's life took a downward spiral, and he was unable to pursue his dreams or make something of himself. In 2015, Booth was driving a car that was reported stolen in a robbery, and he led the police on a chase before he was eventually arrested. The charges against him led him to Judge Mindy Glazer's Miami-Dade bond court, where his bond was set at $43,000 or a year in jail if he couldn't pay. However, the judge noticed Booth's name and asked him if he went to Nautilus for middle.
Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?
Oh my goodness.
The school they both attended. The judge recalled admiring him in school and wondered what became of him.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to see you there. I always wondered what happened to you, sir.
Oh my goodness.
This is the nicest kid in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him and all the kids, and look what has happened. So sorry.
Oh my goodness.
This unusual reunion with his former classmate seemed to affect Booth's life. He eventually served 10 months in prison and used the experience to turn his life around. Booth fought his addiction problems and has since made a better life for himself. This describes an incident that occurred in Judge John C. Murphy's courtroom, where proceedings can be quite hectic. On this particular day, the judge suggested that an assistant public defender waive his client's right to a speedy trial to clear up his schedule. However, the attorney, Andrew Weinstock, insisted that he wouldn't waive the case and was committed to ensuring his client received justice. This led to an argument between the two men that escalated to the point where the judge threatened the attorney with violence.
This is an emergency
if I
created
had
by
a
the
rock,
state.
I would throw it at you right now.
This is
Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it.
Weinstock refused to sit down and continued to argue that he had a right to stand and defend his client.
No, I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand and represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
Shockingly, the two men then went outside, where they engaged in a physical altercation that was not captured on the court camera. A deputy eventually intervened and separated them. Judge Murphy returned to the courtroom to the cheers of the defendants, who had been entertained by the altercation. He continued the proceedings without Weinstock present. Although Judge Murphy had a military background, his fight with Weinstock was considered appalling by the Florida Supreme Court, which ultimately fired him. Dramatic moments are expected in a courtroom. Don't miss out on the latest news and updates from the world of law and justice. Click here and subscribe.